All right, let's go. Sorry, that was for Kylene, but anyhow, inside joke, but we'll tell you about it some other time. Anyhow, hopefully everybody is having a wonderful Monday. Happy Monday, and welcome into Monday Mindset. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and I am with our success group. And my responsibility, my job, my reason, my why is to help people fall deeper in love with their business, right? So they have something that's fulfilling and they are enjoying what they're doing, and just having that uncommon mindset that leads us there. So I am excited to pop back in here. It's been a little bit. I got a chance to talk with Kylene when we popped in for a Thankful Thursday, and I didn't. It's been a whirlwind ever since. So I was off at the Dax Tinley Park event there, the last Dax show of the 2024 season, and it was an awesome show. Lots of people there, lots of vendors this time, so it was good to see the vendors back out, and still some notable missing pieces. I still am blown away by how much of a hole there is. And I know lots of things are going on in the sublimation world right now, but I would think that the smart companies would be like, oh my gosh, I need to take advantage of these opportunities. There was not a single sublimation vendor there at Dax. So I was blown away by that. But anyhow, we're not here to talk about that. But hello, Darren, and hello, Rena. Happy Monday to you. And anyhow, thank you guys for tuning in. So Dax was really good. Really enjoyed meeting new people. Really enjoyed seeing people I hadn't seen for a while. I had not seen Todd and his wife Corey in a while, and Renee and Toy, and man, there were just all sorts of people. Melanie, I got to talk with Melanie for a little while, and I'm sure I missed some people, but it was awesome to see everybody and to get to spend time. I also got to hang around with my buddy Dane. Dane and I always have a good time. Just I don't know. We could talk for hours and hours together. And apparently we can talk for hours and hours separately too. So he did a 3-hour seminar on Friday night, and I did 2 80-minute seminars on Friday during the day. And then I got to sit in on a couple of really great seminars. Scott Ritter is the gentleman who started Dax 28 years ago. And they actually retired after the end of this year. There are some new owners, and Scott and Margie will still be around to help out where needed, but got some new owners taking over Dax. So Scott and Margie could, get into retirement, and they're actually going on a really cool trip coming up here soon. And anyhow, Scott did a seminar that he hasn't done. It was awesome. He mentioned, it's been about a dozen years since I've done a seminar because he's been so busy running Dax, but this was one that he's done in the past called Selling for Scaredy Cats. And so it was really cool. Crazy part is I've known Scott for a long time. I never got to see him speak until Saturday. So that was super cool. And I'm glad I did it. It was great stories. I had a lot of laughs and really enjoyed it and learned a lot too. I took bunches and bunches of notes. In fact, I think I'm going to, obviously give Scott the credit for the ideas, but I'm going to write an article and reference a lot of the things that Scott talked about. So thought it was really good. So anyhow, Mindset Monday here. I wanted to talk to you guys about something that came to mind recently for me, and thought I'd get your guys' take on it, whoever's tuned in live here right now, or if you are catching the replay. Let me know your thoughts on the difference between diagnosis and prognosis. So I know that those terms are typically reserved. I don't know if reserve is the right word. Typically you hear them around the medical world. And yes, that's where it started for me. There was a situation where somebody got a diagnosis and a prognosis, and the discussion was around the fact that the prognosis, right? Okay, here's the deal. I love the doctors in this country. We have amazing doctors. We have amazing technology. We have the ability to diagnose unbelievable things that we'd never been able to diagnose in the past. We have an unbelievable ability to do that acute care, save people's lives when their lives are in danger, bring them back from the brink, so to speak. But I think that's where we leave off, right? And nothing against them. That's in my mind, that's not really their role or responsibility. But yet they're asked to deliver these prognoses. They're asked to be fortune tellers. They're asked to say, well, how long do I got, doc? That kind of thing, right? And the reality is they're just not good at that. The statistics do not tell a story of who people are. And so I started thinking about that for us. Good afternoon, Mo. Thank you so much for being here. And appreciate you tuning in over there on YouTube. Yeah. I guess before I get into this even further, if you are checking this out on YouTube, can you make sure that you share it and maybe go over to Facebook and share it over there? This is also playing on our Facebook business page, but we're not able to play inside of the group. I did post in there about that fact, but as of today, Facebook no longer allows third-party apps to interact with Facebook groups. They're claiming a privacy setting, but I believe we all know the real truth is that they want to monetize that themselves. So anyhow, we won't get into the political side of that, but and I like using StreamYard so I can, interact with Mo and Darren and Rena and everybody like that. And when we utilize just native Facebook, it does not have all of these features and all of these things and all of the abilities. So what we are going to do is we will post these things, and occasionally we'll have something that will be exclusive to the group. And in that case, we'll either go through the native player or we will run through YouTube here as an unlisted event and only post the link in the group. So just giving you guys a heads up of what's happening moving forward there and going from there. So back to the diagnosis versus prognosis, right? Like I said, doctors are fantastic at the diagnosis. They're fantastic at the acute care, saving lives. But when they get to prognosis, they're reliant on statistics that don't really tell a true story of the person. And there's always exceptions to the rule every time. And my belief is that our belief is really more powerful than anything. And so if we allow the doctors to not only be doctors, but to also be fortune tellers, and then we put all of our belief in that, we've put ourselves at a disadvantage, right? And so that's where this all started from. But then it got me thinking about how we might look at this in our business, right? So let me give you an example. The diagnosis might be the thing didn't work, right? I posted the, okay, we'll use this. Maybe I put a product up on Etsy and I didn't get any sales, right? The diagnosis is that thing was a failure, right? The diagnosis is this was my goal. I didn't reach it. But the prognosis that we make from that is what's actually crucial, right? The prognosis could be, oh, yep, I'm a failure. That's a failure. Right? That could be your prognosis. And I think that's what most of us do. We see that result. We immediately think that result is the prognosis. But the reality is the prognosis is what we make of it, right? What we take from that feedback. Okay, that particular way of doing it with those keywords, with that, right? That diagnosis is that thing didn't work. The prognosis is I can make adjustments and it will become successful, right? And I will just keep at it, right? I'm going to be focused on the process, not on the results. So the diagnosis is talking about the immediate result, right? This is what's happening specifically right now in this moment. The prognosis is about the future, right? So, okay, let's go back to the medical side of things, right? The diagnosis might be, I'll use me as an example, right? I had a diagnosis that I had high blood pressure and it was causing some pretty major issues. I think I put a picture out there of my wife taking me to the emergency room in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. Because I had this like ache in my face so bad that, and I am not a person that, I don't like to take many drugs and I don't typically go to the doctor unless I'm really in need, that kind of thing, which I know I get it, right? I do the checkups and things like that. But for the most part, I I just don't see the need, right? And so I got to that point where I knew something was wrong. I knew there was nothing I could do in that moment. And I really thought that I had like a abscess or something going on. I get there and they determine that my blood pressure was like through the roof, right? And so The diagnosis was that I had high blood pressure, right? And so the treatment was medication. Okay. Right. And I could just leave it at that. The diagnosis is what it is. I got to take this medication for the rest of my life. And because then I'm believing the prognosis, right? This is the only way to do this, right? And not that that's what they said, but the common mindset is take the drugs, where's the magic bullet, right? I knew that I could change my own prognosis. And so I got a blood pressure monitor. I read up on the things that I could do more naturally. I understood that the blood pressure situation came from anxiety, worrying, stress. I changed my mindset. I got tried to get myself in a little better shape. I tried to eat a little bit better, right? I was able to change my prognosis because of the choices that I made afterwards, right? And so, what I'm thinking about, like for our business, if your business currently has a diagnosis that you don't like, right? That is not final. That is not the end of it. That is not telling. That is not saying this is what your business is, right? All that is telling you where you are at right now today. Your prognosis is anything that you want it to be, right? You can create any outcomes that you want, are if you are willing to take enough action, if you're willing to make enough sacrifice, if you're willing to do your part of it, right? We can't just go, okay, I want it to be this, and then just hope really hard, right? I can, what I need to do is I need to say, I want it to be this. And now let me start working on figuring out the steps that I need to take to get there, right? And then having those honest assessments of your actions from there is how we grow. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about that? What's your concept, right? It also been talking a lot about goals, and again, people struggling with, I'm not at my goal yet, or I've been at this for X number of years and I've not made any money, and those are all diagnoses, right? Those are all situations where, okay, that is the reality. That's right now, and you can choose to stay in that. Absolutely. Right. And there'll be plenty of people there to commiserate with you. And, yep, the economy is terrible. Politics are terrible. This is that. Right. Understand. And I get it. People get dealt bad hands all the time. And I want nothing more than to help those people up. Right. And because I know along the way, people have helped me up when I've been there. Right. And so it's only fair that I do the same. Right. And then I go, okay, I'm so sorry. I want to give you a hug. I want to fix you. I want to solve the problem, right? All that stuff. But the reality is, you have to make that choice to then take that next step. Right. So I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are about this whole concept of diagnosis versus prognosis. Are you stuck in the diagnosis and therefore you're making that your prognosis? Or do you think that the diagnosis is just information to help you understand what's next? What's the choice I need to make if I don't like this diagnosis? All right. So how does, and we can obviously use that across so many different things. My responsibility, I believe, is through communicating with small business owners, but that might mean something to your life too, right? Like, I know people that have made huge transformations and changes. Tanya Tanya Deutscher is one of those, right? She had the diagnosis and she sacrificed. She did the work. She's going to be running a Tough Mudder this weekend after being in a place where she didn't really like, and her body didn't really like where she was at. Right? So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but the process itself is very simple. You make the choice, you do the work, you continue to do the work, you surround yourself with people that are going to support you and hold you accountable, and you continue to grow, little bits at a time. There is no such thing as an overnight success. There's no such thing as going from zero to right. Yes, you might catch a lucky break and move forward, but you had to have done the work to be in the place where you could catch that lucky break, right? You might get in a situation where something goes horribly awry and it sets you back. But the reality is there will be something along the way that is going to be in your way, that is going to set you back. And you can choose to look at that as just the current diagnosis, or you can choose to say, that's my prognosis and I give up. And whatever you need to do in that moment is perfectly fine, because I do truly believe that everybody does exactly what they can in that moment with their current skills, knowledge, and abilities. Right. So if we're tired, maybe we don't have the same abilities. If we haven't learned that yet, maybe we don't know how to make a different choice yet. Right. If we, our knowledge, right, we haven't learned that. Our skills. Okay. I don't know how to run a Facebook ad. Okay. I don't have that skill yet. Can I find it? 100%. Right. So here's the great news. We live in a world today where all of the knowledge we could possibly want is at our fingertips. It's getting easier and easier to distill that information through AI tools and things like that. But it's never going to be where you don't have to make the decisions, where you don't have to make the call and be willing to take responsibility for those decisions. Right. And so that's the difference. The diagnosis is this. Your prognosis is up to you based on what you choose. So that's what I wanted to talk about really quickly here. Hopefully that has been useful. I'm curious if you guys have thoughts. If you guys think I'm off my rocker, you think I'm on base, don't understand what I'm talking about, whatever that is, I want to hear it. And I'm bring all the feedback. It's not gonna stop me. I'll show up the next time I have something to talk about. Because at the end of the day, if we're not lifting each other up, if we're not understanding that a rising tide does lift all boats, then we won't get there. Right. But if we can all say, you know what, I've got a gift, I need to share that with the world. I'm going to keep sharing it until I can't share it anymore. Right. So Darren says, makes sense. Awesome. Thank you, Darren. Love it. Love it. Love it. And appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you guys for your time today. I appreciate you popping in. If you were able to check this out live, if you're checking out the replay, please do comment though. Love to know what your thoughts are. Argue with me. I love that. Right. I'd really love the banter. Or tell me how you see that a little bit differently. Right. What might be holding you back? Be open, be honest, be willing to say, hey, I am struggling with the prognosis, so to speak, right? I know it is a diagnosis, but I'm having a hard time getting over the fact that that might be a prognosis. And that's okay. If you want to reach out to me directly one-on-one, happy to do that too. You guys know how to reach me. If you don't, I know you can figure it out. Just send me a direct message or email me. I'm the only one that gets the emails, so just email success@oursuccessgroup.com. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to a friend. Have them watch this with you. Talk about it to get their thoughts. Right. So, yeah, here we go. Darren says, I think sometimes you accept the diagnosis from the professionals and therefore accept what they say because you don't know another step, let alone the next step. Yeah, that's so true. And again, this is nothing in what I'm going to say here has nothing to I'm not saying anything bad about the doctors, but we've put them in such a position of power that they're almost like in a no-win situation, right? They're doing their job. They're going to diagnose, but it's our responsibility to say, okay, I'd like to get a second opinion. It's our responsibility to say, okay, I appreciate that. I understand what you're saying I should do. And I know you've done the work, but you haven't lived in my body for, in my case, 50 years. Right. And so I know at 50 years old, I figured out a few things about what my body's telling me. And I spent most of my life not listening to it. And we do. Oh, that ache or pain or that thing, I know where it came from. I'm just not willing to do anything about it. Oh, yeah, my back hurts. Well, guess what, Aaron? Maybe you should stretch a little bit more, right? Maybe you should finally let go of those 30 pounds you've been holding on to, that kind of thing. So I think that's exactly right, Darren, because we don't know another step, let alone the next step. And therefore, and I think that's the trick right there. I think when you get to that spot, and again, my opinion, but I think that's the real trick. Like when you're there, therefore you accept what they say because you don't know another step or let alone the next step. Most of the time at that point, we end up in fear because we don't know that, right? We don't know the next step or let alone the next step, right? We don't know the step or the next step. And that fear then shows up and then we want to hide. Then it's scary. Then if I can just get crawl into a ball. But the uncommon mindset, the thing that we need to embrace is in that moment when we don't know what the next step is, then that's the moment that we need to go, okay, who's in my success team? I need to raise my hand. I need to go somewhere where I feel comfortable and I need to say, hey, can I be honest with you? I'm feeling this, that I'm stuck. I'm this. And be willing to then listen for that help because the next step is there. You know what the next step is deep down inside of yourself. We just have to unlock that. And I believe that that's where the rising tide comes into play is we unlock that by coming back into the community, right? That Tanya loves to talk about the collaboration. ICE is her thing: inspire, collaborate, and encourage. And that collaboration is where you will find another step. Try this, because as humans, think about that. How often do you get advice that you didn't ask for? All the time, right? And you can go, there's another piece of advice I didn't ask for, and just shut it off. Or you can go, huh, interesting. I might look into that, right? If you go, oh, I'm intrigued, then maybe that's worth looking into. If you go, okay, cool, thank you, then just say thank you and move on, as opposed to there's another piece of it, unsolicited advice. We're going to get advice whenever we're open to it, and therefore, we can make changes, we can do different things, and we don't have to do all the things. Just try one thing. What could be one thing different, right? So I mentioned my high blood pressure. The biggest thing that's helped me is instead of caffeine or coffee or that kind of sugars first thing in the morning, um, I started drinking hibiscus tea. Right, I went and did some hunting and searching and listened to some different opinions and thoughts. And if I start my morning with hibiscus tea, that has really helped me keep it under control. There's a lot of other things that I can do from a mindset standpoint, but I don't take the medications anymore, and I don't need to. Right, I feel good. So I love that. Thank you, Darren. And then he says, yeah, medically, I see people just accept it because they're supposed to know the answers to questions we don't even know how to ask. And professionally, you don't see how to implement their advice in your business. Yeah. Yeah. I can totally see that. That's really good, Darren. Um, yeah. Medically, I see people just accept it because they're supposed to know the answers to questions we don't even know how to ask. I think that's a really good point, Darren. Right? Our bodies are complicated. These doctors have spent years and years and years going to school, but I think we still have to take ourselves back and look at the bigger picture. Right? Their job is to keep you alive. I don't think our medical system is really trained to do much more than keep us alive. That's my opinion. You can, again, I'm not saying anything bad about the doctors. I think we have some amazing doctors. All of them are amazing. The fact that they've made that commitment to put that much time into learning, right? So that's awesome. Now, on the professional side, you don't see how to implement their advice yet. And I think that is so crucial. And honestly, that's what I'm like. I rack my brain every day. How can I share this in such a way that it's implementable, right? But I know at the end of the day, the only way we're ever going to actually get there, right? Like think of Darren. I know you and I are just having this conversation here, but you and I have had a chance to like sit down, right, and talk through it, and get some of those things. So sometimes maybe it's just going to be, hey, I need to reach out to Aaron more than once a year at the thing, or in my case, it's like, okay, I need to ask a question of this. I can't do it all by myself. And so it totally makes sense. It 100% makes sense. And I agree with you completely, Darren. And I just want to look for a solution in that. And I know you do too. So we'll keep working on it. Because let's say they're talking about how they got rich, say owning a car wash, but how does that implement into say, let's say their hair salon? Yep, exactly. And I think, well, I don't know if I have. I'll tell you, my intention has always been to not try to make it about, okay, do this thing, and it will work, right? Like, oh, well, you should just be on TikTok and you're going to be rich and famous. I've always said if you work on your fundamentals and know your business, then I believe you will be able to see the solutions that work for you, right? So this because the same fundamentals for the person doing the car wash will work for the person with the hair salon. I truly believe that the fundamentals, the foundation of knowing your reason, having a plan, and that plan includes identifying your ideal customers, having that marketing groundwork, and then taking of the actions. That process will work no matter what your business is, right? But it's finding the examples that say, oh yeah, okay, what does that mean looking for my ideal customer when it comes to a hair salon versus a car wash versus a screen printer versus a digital printer, right? And I think that's the big challenge. And so I think it's going to just take, for the OSG community in general, it's going to take us putting, these fundamentals into work, right? Into use, and say, okay, let me do the work. And then when I get stuck and I don't know something, let me reach out. Right. So really good stuff, Darren. Thank you. I always appreciate you, but I want to make sure that I say that again. All right. You know what, guys? I've got a meeting in about 3 minutes here that I need to do a little prep for. So, Darren, thank you so much. Mo, thank you for tuning in. Rena as well. Thank you guys for being here. Yes, 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 exactly. Hopefully this helps to help people understand that are watching. 100%, Darren. And I knew that's where you're headed, but I appreciate you letting me kind of utilize you as an example too, right? So they can see that. So you're the man. High five, and have a great rest of your Monday. And I will talk to you guys soon. I might be popping back in tomorrow sometime. If there's something that you want to talk about on a Tuesday, please let me know. But without further ado, I'm going to pop out of here, and we will be back later on in the week. So you guys have a great week.